forgot.
What's your take?
What's your take? Okay.
Okay, so I'm Lourdes. This is Danielle, Taisha, and we're going to be.
Can I get a pillow for back support? Just
Sure.
okay?
Sure. We're gonna do what's your take on a series.
We gotta be comfortable.
How can you back support?
On a series of questions, okay?
Your feet don't even touch the ground. Oh my
But
god.
it's okay because they dangle.
All right, sorry.
It's okay. So we're gonna be answering like women and or therapists, okay? And this is a series for Rize-Up Bronx, okay? That's the name of our company. Okay, so the first question, ladies. How do you manage time for family, friends, and relationships and still feel successful?
That's a big question.
It is. I think that's why I took a deep breath. So I'm big on self-care. Like, I actually created something called Pamper Me Sunday. So every Sunday I'll do like a facial, a body scrub, my toes, my hair. If I gotta get my eyebrows done, whatever it is, I'll try. So whatever I do 6 days out the week, from family to work with friends, I make sure I dedicate one day to just me. So that I'm not overwhelmed. It's kind of like recharging my body and also my mind, so that when Monday morning comes, it's right back to it. So that's been working for me so far.
Okay. I think time management. I try to create a schedule, and I even create a schedule with my friends and family. Like, I plan out when I'm gonna hang out. And I mean, I know it's been a source of frustration for me with certain family members who don't get that. And they're like, oh, we might do something Sunday. And I'm like, well, I don't work with might do something, because I have to be always 10 steps ahead of the game to be as successful as I want to be, and also be present in all of these relationships that matter to me. So I think it's just about letting people know how I work best, and asking them to try to accommodate that. Like, I need a schedule, I need a plan, and then I plan around that, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. How do you continue to make goals for yourself and do regular check-ins with yourself?
I'm always goal setting. Like, to me, one of my first jobs in my career, my supervisor would always say, if you fail to plan to fail. So for me, I always create goals because I think that's the first step towards a plan. And those goals are constantly evolving, because sometimes you succeed or sometimes circumstances change. And I feel like I'm constantly rewriting the goals and making moves towards the goals, because that's how I thrive best. Like, I feel my happiest when I'm successful. And not everyone feels that way, right? Some people.
That's true. No,
I have a really good friend that just doesn't do much, and sometimes I ask her, and I'm like, this doesn't bother you? The fact that you have your simple job, you spend Saturday and Sunday watching TV, and she just looked at me. I'll never forget that. She said, I am so fucking happy. And I laughed. But in reality, she was a happier person than I was.
She's happy.
Right? Yeah, she's way happier than me. And I think because for
she
me,
has
it's
time
like
for her shows.
Yeah. I have this hunger, right? I have this hunger to achieve. But sometimes when you have a great big hunger to achieve, you're always hungry. When do you feel satiated? So that,
You also have to know your limit. Like, I love to set goals that either most people were too scared to do, or they just never thought about doing it. So I like to push myself to the max, and even after that, like Danielle said, I'm still gonna set another goal and think outside the box. So even if I feel like, all right, well, I'm at my top level of whatever it is, whatever that goal is, I'm always thinking, okay, so how can I tweak it? What can I do a little differently so that the goal is there, I succeeded, but I also did a little more. So I have like this, I guess, this motto that for me, I said to myself, when I leave, you're gonna remember my name. Like, you're gonna see me on a billboard or, okay, so I know, you're not a little star, like the Hollywood star. Yeah, one of those.
Do you want to be an actress?
I want walking and they're stressful, and even if they want to walk down, look at their feet because they got foot fetishes, and they can say, "Oh, let me call her." Yes.
Oh, you mean figuratively a star?
Yes.
You know, I took it literal. I'm sorry. Oops. I took it
But
very
I
literal.
just want to set goals to where I'm valid.
Right.
Not, and there's no disrespect to people who do mediocre goals, but something that is set in stone and is there and it meant something.
But you know what's interesting that you say valid, because to piggyback on what I'm saying, in some way, are super ambitious people lacking validity? Like, why do we need to work so hard to be valid?
In a sense, I have a few people who always ask that, like, why do you work so much? Why don't you go on vacation? Why don't you do this or why don't you do that? And it's like, at times I do feel bored if I'm not pushing myself.
Yeah.
Right.
Because all I've ever known to do is
Be ambitious.
go, 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 go,
Yeah.
go, go.
Mhm.
So when I sit still for too long, it's like, oh, this is boring.
Mm-hmm.
Like the friend that you just was talking about, I probably would have worked I would have lost my mind. I wouldn't be able to function because that's not me. It's not in
Yeah.
me.
Right.
Even to the point where I may tell a friend, why don't you go and do this? So you know what? You're really good at that. You should look into that. Just because I'm going to succeed, I want my service to succeed as well.
I'm going to put a hypothesis out there that I'm sure has been researched. I don't have access to the research, but this is the hypothesis that I believe. People who do not bore easily live happier lives. Because if you constantly feel bored, if you constantly need another vacation, another, career
Adventure.
move, another this, and it's like you're constantly chasing your tail.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
And
But-
you're constantly tired, I'm sure.
That's it.
That's what coffee's for.
That's right. Bustelo.
We got a pot right there.
All right, next question. What is one thing, I know you spoke about your spa day, but let's say like you don't have enough like of a whole day to have a spa day like myself. So what is one thing you can do for yourself, something that may not be like the whole entire day, that will make you feel good about yourself? Like what is something that you both do?
Shopping.
I don't like shopping. But I know people. Wow, she's like, only look.
What are you shopping for?
Talk about judgy eyes. No, I just never did. Well, that's not true. Maybe when I was younger, but now like the stores, the lines, the crowds,
What about online shopping? No.
it gives me a migraine.
There's just there's so many selections. I feel like you go crazy. Like, okay, well, I could get this, but then I could get this, but then I could get that. I don't know. I think online shopping might make me like.
Yeah.
Whoa.
My favorite thing is to be touched. So I like massages. Getting my hair done, like especially when that feels good when they wash your hair.
And actually like
Yeah.
getting into it.
Energy.
Yeah.
Foot, massages, going on a date, I don't know, anything that would result in being touched.
Okay. Shopping and touching. Okay. All right. So let's see. We already discussed this one. So, what do you do when you feel someone doesn't have your best interest when it comes to your career goals?
Oof. That's a big one. Secretive. You gotta be secretive. You can't tell everyone your plan because some people have bad intentions. And there's a lot of cultures, the evil eye.
Yes.
There's a lot of cultures that believe.
I believe in that. I have.
Okay, yeah. I feel like people's ill will towards you to some degree can impact you. So I think that you have to be very wary of these people and keep them at arm's length, and definitely keep your business ventures and your business goals at arm's length from them.
For me, I never let my left hand know what my right is thinking. And that's even for me personally. So when I was younger, I used to hide stuff to the point where I would go to look for it and forget where I put it. And it's bad because I wouldn't tell nobody else. So I'm looking for it all day long.
Imagining young Taisha just looking through the house.
I would literally scatter things all over because I love scavenging. But I wouldn't be able to find it. And I would get frustrated. Then I have to turn my whole room upside down. And it's in the corner somewhere buried under clothes. But I do that because at least it's like I'm testing myself. And I'm shying away the negative side of me. Like, for example, I always used to put money somewhere. So I would stash it maybe under a mattress, somewhere deep inside the closet.
Don't tell all your secrets where the money's at.
Right. So if I was able to put everything together on a table, I would blow everything. But by me stashing it here and stashing it there, it's like, okay, I'm saving. I know I got it somewhere. So as long as I keep saving and stashing it somewhere, I'll never go broke.
Right.
And it's the same thing as with your personal goals. If you put yourself in a predicament where, and sometimes you may not know, but you put yourself in a predicament where you have people who don't have your best interests at heart, and you will be able to tell whether it's their actions or certain things that they say. Like, I'm a firm believer in watch what people don't do and what they don't say.
Right.
That gray area is usually what it is. And if you bypass it for whatever reason, because sometimes we do, sometimes we're gullible, it happens. But if you bypass it and you continue to bypass it, you'll never see their true colors. And once they show them, don't repaint them. Let them shine on across the street, 6 feet, social distancing somewhere else. But you also focus on yourself and your own goals. So that's why I said you never let one know what the other one is doing.
Okay. All right. So moving on to the next question. How do you not feel guilty about spending time by yourself? Like wanting to be alone and not feel guilty about it. Like, okay, I'm going to dedicate a few minutes a day, or this day is just for me, like what I want, and not feel guilty
not
like
feel bad about
you're
it.
neglecting A, B, and C when you're taking care of yourself.
I think you have to be selfish. If you're not selfish with yourself, who are you going to be selfish with? And there's so many people who are selfish, and they will flat out tell you, I don't even bother, leave me alone.
Right.
So you have to
That's the goal.
You have to come to a point where you just say, I don't want to be bothered, leave me alone. Whether you put your phone on D&D, whether you completely turn it off. Sometimes I would just turn it off for a few hours and we'll stop.
I think, like, you do have to be selfish. And I always have this saying, a healthy person has a level of selflessness and selfishness. And there's that fine balance. Because you don't want to be too selfish, but you also don't want to be too selfless, where everybody else comes first at all times.
Right.
You know, kind of piggybacking on what we talked about prior, I think that you have to plan. And I think part of the schedule needs to be alone time, recharging the battery, and doing whatever it is that is important to you. Yeah.
All right. How do you manage times when you are overwhelmed? Like when you do feel stressed out, and who do you turn to?
My siblings. Being an oldest of 7, it can be annoying and challenging because I don't have anyone behind me to go to. And it's ironic to go to those younger, but what I found with the diversity of our age and just our background is that you really, I guess when I was younger, I felt like I couldn't relate. And surprisingly, they shocked me sometimes, like, oh, you're right. Like, I have 2 brothers. One of them, he's like, Taisha, why don't you just go somewhere, get a new hobby, do something with yourself. And then I have one of my twin sisters who will constantly, anytime I'm not at my best, she will constantly send me like either a scripture or a motivational thing or just something to laugh at. And I can be in the street somewhere cracking up, just looking at what she sends me. So I guess having that support team in a sense, that circle that you can go to.
For sure. For me, I think it would be my friends and some family, but more so my friends. I think that I've worked hard cultivating some really solid relationships, and I think that's something everyone should try to do. That's really kind of my backbone.
Okay. All right. So how do you make time to like catch up on like the latest like social media and things that are going on, and trying to like stay hip like with, so that you can be engaged with your like young clients, and also find time to like read up on your field and make sure that you're knowledgeable about like latest theories that are coming out. So how do you balance that? And do you make time for that? Or do you just like, no, I don't have time for like social media. I don't care what Cardi B is doing right now. I need to like focus on, positive psychology. Like, so what do you do?
Well, I guess I'll go first. So, if I'm in session, for example, and a young person, even just saying young person, like, I feel like, damn, I was young. Now I'm saying young person like I'm an old lady. It's really weird. But if a young person is talking about, like, Snapchat, for example, I know nothing of, and I know I downloaded it one time, and I opened it, and I was like, man.
Those filters, though.
I like the filters, though.
Right?
Well, I can't even give you a review of Snapchat. Just opening it, and immediately I said, I don't want to be doing this. Like, I don't want to be doing this. So I would say two things. When I'm giving therapy to a young person and they're talking about social media, I actually feel relieved that that stage of my life is over with. That I'm no longer caring what John, Dick, and Harry and Susan and Mary are doing. That I no longer am worried about, what people think of my page, or did I have a good selfie. Like, I'm over that, and that's such a good feeling. Secondly, I think everyone enjoys teaching. Because when we teach, we feel empowered. We feel like we have a knowledge that we can bestow on someone. Mm-hmm. So I have the young people teach me. I'm like, well, what is this? And what does that mean? And what is that,
You learn as you go. Like, I mean, for me, I'm on social media, so...
Everything? Snapchat?
Well, no.
TikTok?
I'm on Instagram and Facebook. TikTok, I don't understand the purpose. Like, I just see people do things, and then I try to copy it, but I'm like, by the time I copy it, it's over.
That's what we're talking about.
So I can't touch it. I can't catch it. So I'm like, really? And then with Snapchat, I just like the filters.
I love the filters.
They're just funny to me. But, again, if I get to that point where I'm stuck, I'll just text one of my younger sisters, like, how do you do that?
Right.
Show me how to do this dance. And they look at me like I'm ancient, but it's okay. But I do it with them so I can feel young too. So when I am counseling someone at a younger age, it doesn't make me, one, feel old, and two, make them feel like a baby.
Right.
Because depending on the age, at the end of the day, they want to be respected.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, if you're counseling a 10-year-old, of course it's different from a 16-year-old. But at the same token, the 10-year-old will bring up a game that you might have played when you were younger. It's named something else, right, or something.
Can I just I know the filters you're referring to is like what the cat ears and all that stuff. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a really negative side to filters that I just want to bring to the surface. And that is the fact that young girls and even young men, they're not
showing their true self.
Yes, loving who they really are. And everyone's putting out this fake version of themselves. Mm-hmm. And I think it's actually creating more body dysmorphia. It's creating more self-esteem issues. And sometimes I even saw this ad on Facebook, which is like the only one I actually do use because I'm old. So it was like this filter where it made your waist go in and your butt bigger. Have you seen this filter?
No.
Oh, it's wild. And I was like, what the hell is this? And
they have a mirror like that.
Oh, yeah, they have. Right, play that.
Yeah.
I just find that so sad and problematic. Like,
it's almost like those people who, when you go on a date, you look like one thing.
Oh, you talking about like catfish?
And then when you wake up, you're like, what?
What do you mean when you wake up?
They went that far?
Some people. I'm not the only one that likes to get touched, obviously.
Some people so when you wake up, they looking at you like, that's not what you looked like last night.
Oh, you talking makeup and stuff though?
Everything. Makeup, hair, nails. So I know, did y'all
see
see that episode?
Did
y'all see that episode?
Everything bra.
From The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. When
I should bring it way back. You're aging yourself.
Just listen though. Wait, what's Gina was in the basement with Will Smith, and she took off her wig and then she started popping off her nails.
Oh yeah,
It's like one of those. She just said, here, you open it. It's the same thing. It's like, but that's not what I wanted. That's not what I'm attracted to. But it's true. People use other things to kind of disguise themselves, like the inner issues.
They feel inadequate.
And
Yeah.
it's unfortunate, actually, because you're not accepting who you are. Like, what people may seem as entertainment is actually an underlying issue.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, because I know like a lot of like, especially like the young adults, like the young teenagers, they could not leave their house without those fake eyelashes. And those eyelashes get to my office before they do. And I'm like, why? I can't even see your eyes. Like, you don't have to hide behind all of that. You're beautiful without that. And they don't see it. They don't see
Some
it.
of them are very dramatic with it.
Yeah.
Looking like Snuffleupagus. That's what I'm like.
Oh, I used to love him. He was invisible. Okay. All right. So, next question. Name one thing. Talking about this self-esteem thing. One thing you would change if you could about yourself, and it doesn't have to be necessarily as far as like looks or filters. It could be anything in general. Like, what would you change if you could?
I think I would not attach as strongly as I do. I have found throughout the course of my life, because I attach in such an intense way to people, whether it be friends, whether it romantic people, people I've dated, when it ends, because sometimes, let's be realistic, relationships end sometimes, I suffer a lot. And I feel like if I could be not so detached where I'm like a sociopath, right? I don't want to be a sociopath either, but I would like to be just a little better at detaching,
I think for me, my facial expressions.
Facial expression?
You can't hide anything?
No, I can't. I can't. I sometimes I'll sit and I'm thinking of a word, but I'm like,
But what do you do in session when someone's saying something?
Oh, I can control it in a
Oh.
session, but like if I'm amongst my friends or my family who know me,
Right.
oh, it's not gonna work.
It's hard. It's hard in session. Like when you're someone that wears your feelings on your sleeve, like I do too. And like, let's say you're in a session, the person's like, "Yeah, then I punched my mother in her face," and you're like,
It's like one of those like.
But part of you wants to be like, "What the hell? Who does that?" But you can.
And the client, you can tell, like they
You think so?
I think sometimes they can tell. They know, but because we're professionals at it, in a sense, like we're so used to it, it's like not to get out of character.
Right, because you're not supposed to be judging, right? So you can't just like hide it. You also have to check your inner voice to say, this is not about how I feel kids should treat their mother. This is about how I can best help this person with their goals or whatever they're struggling with. Maybe them punching their mom in the face is irrelevant to the conversation. That happens all the time.
I just wanted to share the thought.
Right. See what you would do in that situation. Okay, next question. If you could tell your younger self something positive about yourself at this stage in the game, what would you say to your younger self?
My younger self?
I wish that I could tell my younger self that she was so beautiful, I spent so many years feeling ugly, like inside and out, and that's making me a little emotional. But that's what I would want her to know.
For me, I would say not to keep up with the Joneses. So I wasn't in a home to where my mother can go in any store and swipe. And as I've gotten older, at one point I used to take jobs where it was about the money. It wasn't about the benefits. It wasn't about a pension. It wasn't about whether I actually enjoyed my job. So trying to keep up with the Joneses and buy expensive clothing and shoes and bags, I realized when it's all said and done, what do I have? What do I stand for? And that's why it's so important for me to have meaning. It's not, like earlier when you were mentioning about being valid, it's about just knowing, okay, if I have just a plain outfit, I still look good. You know, if I have shoes that I spent $20 on, I can actually make a whole outfit out of that compared to $200 shoes or whatever it is.
That are gonna hurt your feet anyway.
Right? And you can't even walk in them, you start stumbling or something by the time you get down the block. But but I would tell my younger self that it's okay to not keep up with the Joneses.
And I think you're touching too on a bigger social issue, especially I think with the urban community, people of color. We have this concept of like, I can buy $500 sneakers and have $0 in the bank and I'm somebody. When in reality, that is the most insane concept ever. It's better to have $20 sneakers and $480 in the bank. And I think that it's a issue, a community issue, and I think we gotta try our best to fight that because it's hard. It's hard not to.
It is, and the sad thing is, I don't think society does a fair, I won't say good, but a fair enough job in getting people out of that. Like, all these stores that they have downtown and everything are not going anywhere. You know, there's people who spend their rent money or their tuition or whatever, a big lump sum, on something that you throw bleach on it and you have to throw it in the garbage anyway.
Right.
You know, or it gets torn, and you can't fix it. I've had clothes to where I've tried and it does not work. So what am I looking at? A materialistic item that drove me crazy trying to get it. Now that I have it, I want to look cute, and I have literally nothing to show for it. As opposed to me going to apply for a loan or something, opening up something, and then flipping the money to where not only can I buy those shoes, I done bought a whole outfit, couple of outfits. That's just something that I realized, and it had a lot to do with the crowd. And I had to learn to change my audience. If I change my audience, I change my mind frame. So if I'm surrounded by people who do nothing but call their mother, like, Mom, can I get $200-$300 for a pair of jeans? It's like, really?
Yeah. You are the company you keep. Yeah, you have to really think about who you're spending your time with. But like, for example, in a session, it depends, right? Because I'm big on the clients set their goals. I don't determine their goals. So if they're spending all their money on name brand items and that's not the issue, then I'm gonna leave it alone. Like, everyone's entitled. But let's say they come in because they're in financial crisis and that's the issue, then that gives me the license to open up that dialogue. And I have found that there's a huge connection to self-esteem and these types of behaviors, because if you don't feel adequate, then you're going to look for ways to feel adequate. And I think that I have this conversation all the time, like, you don't need someone to love you to be enough. You don't need a shoe to be enough. You don't need anything to be enough. And the person will be like, well, what makes someone enough? And I said, that's your birthright. You were born enough. And if you really like own that and feel it, you know, to your core, you won't be constantly looking for ways to kind of compensate.
Yeah, to fill that void. Yeah.
Thank you. Very interesting. Here's another question I just thought of because of everything you guys have been saying. If you could say one thing that you love about yourself, what would it be?
My kindness.
My sarcasm. I'm sorry. I am split between my parents, and for the most part, I am my father, who come in collective. However, when I get to that point, I turn into my mother, and I turn into the sarcastic side, but that allows me to not be taken advantage of, and to stay my ground. You know, at one point, I wasn't that tough or as tough, and then the older I get, it's like the more it just comes out with no hesitation.
Okay.
And is there one thing that you think that you need to work on as far as making yourself a better person to serve our clients at Rize-Up Bronx and beyond?
Oh, to be better therapists?
Yes.
I don't think, well, at this time, that there's anything to work on, just because I always want to learn. So even if I pick something, I'm going to think of something else
Yeah, I think that, continuing education
Right.
is extremely important, and I feel like it is hard at times. Like you work all day, the last thing you want to do with your free time is like open up a book on major depression disorder, the CBT approach. Like it's hard, but you have to. You have to consistently make efforts to educate yourself, so that way you can better help clients. And also I think peer to peer, like we have just having this conversation now, it's like a learning exchange. So I think engaging in these types of conversations, engaging in trainings, whatever you can to increase your knowledge base.
Okay. Well, thank you, ladies.
You're welcome.
And look forward to doing another video with you girls.
Very soon, okay. Yes,
Okay.
that was fun.
That was fun.
All right. So what is the show called? One more time. Come on.
What?
Come on.
What's your take?
What's your
What's
take?
your take?
What's your take?
Oh
Okay.
my god. You make me always question it. Like,
I think about it for a second. Like, wait a minute.
what was it again?
What's your take?
What's your take?
And we're Rise Up Bronx, right?
Yes.
All right.
Rise Up Bronx.
Bye, guys.
Bye.